Okay, in this video, I'm going to take you through how to set up a wall system and a floor system so that the wall and floor clean themselves up in a manner similar to that in which it would be constructed. So if you see here in the section view, this is our floor system, this is the floor joist. Then we have our subfloor that runs underneath of the wall. Our wall comes down to sit with the stud, what would be the bottom plate, or the wall itself is sitting on the subfloor. Then our finished material is going to run across and stop at the stud layer. Now we can add a finish layer on the wall, and then these two would clean themselves up as well. But then more importantly, the outside, the sheathing layer, or OSB, is running down the wall, so that it is running down over the floor system and then down over top of the sill plate, stopping before the foundation, covering this up. And then of course siding is running down as well. So how do you go about in setting this up so that you have a nice clean wall section? So what I'm going to do is I'll run back here to my level 1 and just scoot on over here, and we'll draw this up here again. So I'm going to go to my architecture tab, grab my wall tool, and pull down my wall tool, and first grab my wall. I already have a wall built. We've covered building walls here before. We'll just take a look at the layers in my wall so we can see this. And what I have here is siding, that clapboard siding on the outside. It's a 1/2 inch thick. Then I have my OSB, and right now I just use the default standard 1/2 inch instead of a 7/16 for drawing purposes. And then the structural layer here, wood joist, rafter layer, batt insulation, is what I use for my stud for a 2x6 at 5.5. And I'll just go ahead and I'll add in one more layer here and drop this layer down, just so if we wanted to show a finish layer on the inside of the wall, I can go ahead and do that. I'll add a finish layer, and we'll make this gypsum wallboard. So we'll go find gypsum wallboard. There it is. And we'll make that a 1/2 inch gypsum wallboard. And we'll go ahead and hit OK. So apply, hit OK. Now we'll go ahead and just start drafting in our lines. And right now I want to set this up so that the base constraint is my level 1, and my top constraints that are not huge is going to be my level 2. So that's set up. So now finish face core exterior is what I'm drawing by. So we'll just run out here 10 feet, and we'll just keep this pretty small, 10 feet all around, and clean this back up. So now I'm ready to start working with my floor. And now I'll go back to my architecture tab, and I'll grab my floor system, and we'll do a floor architecture. And I had already altered this floor generic 12 inch so that I have some layers. And so we'll jump into here and see the layers that I have. So first layer I have is a finish layer, and I didn't give any finished material to it. If I wanted to pull oak, I could do that, but that 3/4 inch thick is important. And then the next layer, this would be my OSB, or my subfloor layer, sorry. My subfloor layer, and that's your 3/4 inch. And then my joist layer is 11 1/4, what would be a 2x12. So with that set up, we'll go ahead and start drawing in my walls. So I'll go ahead and grab I'll just actually select the wall. We'll go ahead and select the wall and select the wall, so it grabs that. But what I want to do now is I want to come back in, hit escape here twice, and then I want to grab this wall indicator line. I want to pull that in so it goes underneath of the stud. Do not want that over top of the sheathing layer, or under the sheathing layer. So I'll go to the 2 corners, and I will pull that in so it is between the stud layer and the sheathing layer on the outside. So it's underneath. So it's my sheathing and then my siding outside. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit the green check. Now with the green check, what this is probably going to set up is a pretty standard floor system. What I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this, and you can see that I can still see the floor system itself underneath of my wall. And this is what we've done for years now, is then try to clean this up and how to handle that, because really the siding would run down across that exterior of the floor system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run back to my first floor here, and I'm going to grab my view tab. I'm going to just create a quick section here so I can cut this building in half and pull this back. So I'm just making that section there. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, and we'll set my detail level as well. and you can see that the wall is sitting on top of the finished material. So again, that's not accurate either. So what we want to do is we want the walls to actually run down through to what would be, this is that level 3. And in fact, really, this should be called my TO foundation. So we'll go ahead and call that TO foundation, meaning top of foundation, because it's really where the end of my foundation would sit. And I'm going to have a sill plate in between the two of these. Okay, so we'll end up adjusting a few things with the height of the floor here, but we'll start working through this. So what I want to do next is I want to end up having all my walls apply and attach down to that top of foundation. So I grab one wall, I'll then right click, I'm going to grab select all instances in the entire project right now, and then I'm going to go ahead and set my base constraint. So my base constraint goes to the top of foundation. Come back inside the drawing, click, and now that drives those walls down through. So now what we can do to get the wall and the floor to join up and clean up in a proper manner is we're going to go ahead and select one of the two features here. I can go ahead and select the floor or the wall. We could also, what we're trying to do is get to that modify toolbar. So just go ahead and click on one of them, and then this modified toolbar opens up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this join tool. Now the join tool is join, unjoin, or switch join order. So what I'm going to do right away here is go ahead and click on the join geometry. And with the join geometry tool turned on, we're going to come down, we're going to select the floor, and then we're going to go ahead and select the wall. And you can see that it goes ahead and cleans itself up pretty quick, that the subfloor is now running underneath of what would be the wall sitting on the first floor. And then you can see that the sheathing and the siding are running down past. So we'll just go ahead, we'll do this to the other wall over here and go ahead and hit it that way. So that's the way you set this up in a section, where you join the walls in a section. What we can also do is jump back to our level 1, and I'll go ahead and create another quick section here. Pull that back. We'll go take a look at that section. You can see that these walls have not joined up. So we'll go ahead and actually make that fine. You can see these are running through here and these are running through, not cleaning up. So we'll go back to that level 1. And if I'm able to select that floor, now what you might have to do here, this is the select element by face button. If there's a little red X down here, you got to click on that. Then you can click on the floor. That's pretty important to do so you can grab a hold of a flat surface. But by doing this, I can grab the floor, I can then grab the join tool, and then I can go ahead and click on the wall and the floor, and I can click on the wall and then the floor. And then what that'll do is then set up the join for those walls without having to have multiple section views present. So you can see now in that section it is cleaned up. Okay, and another way that you can actually work through this, you might see this, is if you were to, let's just say that we go ahead and we select our floor here, and I hit the edit boundary button up here. And I go ahead and pull my boundary out and hit the green check, and then I'm going to go back and edit the boundary again. I go ahead and push this boundary back, and then I hit my green check again. Then what will happen is you get a dialog box. And this is what I want to see pop up. Once you take those walls down through the floor, you get this dialog. It says the floor roof overlaps the highlighted walls. Would you like to join geometry and cut overlapping volumes? Well, yes, I do. And what you saw me do here is I actually pulled this wall back out, really far out. I'm sorry, pulled my floor back out. Once you make a change to that bounding line, that's when you get that selection box to pop up. And you can see on this side, it's starting to clean up. You can see where my finish layer is already running back. You can also see where the drywall finish layer, they're intersecting each other here. The floor itself, the stud is sitting on the subfloor, and then my siding and my sheathing are now running down past. So with that set up, let's go back in and set this side up properly. So with it highlighted, I'll hit edit boundary. We'll go back into my level 1, and I'm going to take this bounding line and just drag that back out to the stud and sheeting intersection. Hit the green check. And since I'd already said yes to cleaning up the geometry, I now have that over here. So that's nice and tidied up. So a few things here. If I'm looking at the space in this area, to get a sill plate in there, we would definitely need to have 1.5 inches, and what I have here is 3/4. So what I need to do to get this to be a little more accurate is I want to move my entire floor system up the thickness of my finished floor, because really my level 1 or my 0, 0 layer is going to be my subfloor, not my finished floor. So I'll go ahead and grab my floor system. I'm going to go over to height offset from level. I'm going to go ahead and bounce this thing up by 3/4 inch. Now you can see that underneath of here I have a set distance here. That's probably my 1.5 inches, and that's set up for my subfloor, I'm sorry, for my sill plate. Now what we also see here is when I select my wall, is the wall is, although it's cleaning up inside where the structural materials are for the floor, does extend down below here, and this is actually where the sill plate is going to sit. So we need to then be able to pull up the stud, but if we're going to do this, the whole wall moves. So what we need to do now is we need to make this wall a little more adaptable. So we'll do that. So we'll select the wall, and we'll go back over to the edit type and get into edit of the layers. And in here we're going to zoom in, and what we need to do is we need to hit the modify button down here for modify vertical structure and hit modify. Then we need to select the bottom edge of this wall. Mouse over it, it'll highlight, select it. There's a little lock. If you mouse over this lock, you have to wait till it turns red and then select it. That unlocks it. So I'm going to do that for both the materials of the stud and the finished layer of the gypsum wallboard. So there it is, and it's a little tricky to actually grab a hold of this, and I'm going to click on it. So now they're both unlocked. I'm going to go ahead and leave these locked. So if I mouse over them, you'll see that's locked, and I'll see this is locked. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the siding and the sheathing locked up here. So hit OK. We're going to hit apply, hit OK. And now when we select our wall, you can see that I have options here that I can actually pull this stud layer back up. So if I wanted to, I could actually pull the stud layer all the way back up to the bottom of the wall, which is one way to clean this up. Okay, and then this is now cleaned up here for me to go ahead and place my sill plate, which would then support the floor system from the foundation wall. So if I'm going to go ahead and grab that sill plate, I'll just go in here to my level 1, get into structural, go to my beam section, and we'll go ahead and load up a wood. Let's see here, we got to get into structural framing, and we're going to get into wood. Then we're going to go to dimensional lumber, and we want a 2x6, and we'll hit OK. So we got a 2x6 showing up here, and for now I'm just going to rough draw this in to the outside of my building. I usually get a warning that say you can't see the thing, which is all fine and good. I'll go to my section view, and then it's sitting right here. So I select the sill plate, I go ahead and rotate this by 90 degrees, and then I'm going to go ahead and set up a negative offset of 3/4 inch, and I'll go ahead and copy that into both locations here for start level offset and level offset, and then I come back to the drawing, and what that does is it rotates it and drops it down, so instead of splitting a layer level, it is below it. Then I can go ahead and just take this thing and start moving it into position. Now at this point I usually like to use my move tool, so I can go ahead and select a corner and take it to a corner so it is far more accurate in its placement. Then I can start thinking about, well, foundation. Now this is depending upon, am I going to run a CMU foundation, or am I going to go ahead and set up a superior wall? Your superior wall would overlap your sheeting because there's an angle cutout on the superior wall, or your CMU is going to sit flush with your sill plate, which would be a pressure treated sill plate. That point comes down to the drawing, what you're trying to create with your foundation. So whether you're trying to set this up for any foundation, this is a great way to set up your wall system. And the other nice thing about setting a wall system up this way is you can still go back through, and when you want to annotate, you can annotate to that sheathing layer and go ahead and grab the outside of the sheathing layer to give your overall dimensions for your walls nice and clean and even to that sheathing layer, and set that up and keep it moving. So hopefully this helps clean things up, give you a nice way to set up your exterior system. All right, take care.